Once upon a time, there was a mathematician who owned a lemonade stand. Why he decided to run a lemonade stand is irrelevant. Stop questioning his life choices. One day, though, an infinite amount of people showed up to his stand in a line. As a mathematician, though, he was familiar with the concept of infinity and wasn't particularly worried about this. The first person asked for 1 glass of lemonade. The second person, though, asked for half a glass of lemonade. And then the next one asked for a quarter of a glass of lemonade. And so on was the pattern, each person asking for half of the last one. The mathematician saw this infinite line, though, and had an idea. Recalling his fancy schmancy math knowledge, he knew that the infinite summation starting at n equals 0 of 1 over 2 to the n power, which is a series that proceeds from the infinite amount of people in the request, converges to the simple answer of 2. And so the mathematician prepared 2 glasses of lemonade, knowing this would satisfy everyone's requests, and he began serving them. The next day, though, and yes, the mathematician was able to serve an infinite amount of people in a day, he the math nerd stopped doubting him, another infinite amount of people showed up to his stand in a line. The first person asked for 1 glass of lemonade like before, and the second person asked for half of what the person before asked. And then the third person asked for a third of what the person before him asked. And then, of course, the fourth person asked for a fourth of what the person before her asked. And so on forever. To serve these requests, our mathematician once again thought of a solution. He knew the first person was asking for 1 glass of lemonade, and the second person was asking for half of that, which is a half, and the third person asked for a third of that, which is a sixth, and then so on. The mathematician recognized this series as an infinite sum of the reciprocals of factorials, and then once again using his fancy schmancy math knowledge, he remembered that this ends up being exactly e minus 1, where e is Euler's constant. And Euler's constant is approximately 2.718, and so e minus 1 is approximately 1.718. And since 1.718 is just a bit less than 2, the mathematician makes 2 glasses of lemonade, once again, knowing this will satisfy everyone's requests. The next day, though, an infinite amount of people showed up to his stand, this time in groups, increasing in number by 1 per group. The first person asked for 1 glass, as always, and then the second group asked for half of a glass of lemonade split between both of them. And then the next group asked for a third of a glass of lemonade split between all 3 of them, and then so on. This made our mathematician panic a bit because he wasn't thinking this particular series would exactly work, but alas, once again he thought of an idea. He told everyone to do rock, paper, scissors, or flipping coins or other methods to pick 1 person from each group, and only that 1 person could be served, unfortunately not all of them. And so they did as they were asked, aren't they so nice, and picked 1 person from each group to stay. And then they rearranged themselves in a line, and then our mathematician got to problem solving yet again. He knew the first person was asking for 1 glass like literally every other time, but that the second person was asking for half of a glass of lemonade, since recall he wanted half a glass of lemonade split between him and the previous other member in his group. And then the third person was asking for a third of a glass, since she was asking for a third of a glass split between her and the other 2 people in her group. And then so on. And so, our mathematician then noticed an important pattern. Each person was asking for exactly the reciprocal of their place in the line squared. And then our mathematician recognized this infinite series as the Basel problem, which solves it saying that it converges to exactly pi squared over 6. And pi squared over 6 is approximately equal to 1.645, which once again rounds up to 2. And so, taking a big sigh and wondering if his math is really coming into any use at all, he yet again makes 2 glasses of lemonade for everyone. The next day, yet another infinite amount of people shows up to the mathematician's stand. By now, he's quite confident, since every single time he's been able to satisfy everyone's requests, and he assumes he'll probably just have to make 2 glasses of lemonade yet again. And like every other time in the history of the universe, the first person asks for 1 glass of lemonade. And then the second person asks for half of a glass of lemonade. So far so good. But then the next person asks for a third of a glass of lemonade. And so on with this pattern. Our mathematician then starts to sweat a bit because, well, as it turns out, this infinite series diverges to infinity. And so he'd have to make an infinite amount of lemonade. And so he runs away as fast as possible. This saddens everyone, which may make our mathematician the worst person alive, since he made an infinite amount of people sad. But at least it's just countable infinity and not uncountable, right? Anyways, our mathematician is now out of the picture forever, and so our story's at an end. Please subscribe if you found this interesting at all, and share this video with anyone else that you want subject to my odd sense of humor. Farewell for now.